from our two countries, which share a proud legal tradition and share our common legal heritage and a very, very rich historical bond. A historical bond that is our gift to the world, that is the common law. And I'm very pleased that I've been given this opportunity to travel to India to strengthen the UK's relationship with the Indian legal profession. And I think that it is fitting that as I come here today, your Prime Minister, at this very moment, is together with our Prime Minister, Tony Blair. The legal communities of India and the United Kingdom are united then by the common law, and together we share its history, its heritage, and its values. And the very nature of the common law means that it's influenced by local circumstances and knowledge, and as such, we each build our own unique legal systems based on the concepts and values enshrined in common law. And in that sense, I have no doubt that we have much to learn from each other. And you know, I value my education at the School of Oriental and African Studies, an education that brought me into contact with the legal systems within our Commonwealth, our shared Commonwealth heritage, and value that fundamental part of the common law that we call precedent, that living, breathing notion of precedent, of case law that changes and adapts to the circumstances in front of it. And in a sense, that is why our bond, the bond between the Indian and the British legal system, will remain strong. It's for this reason that I'm delighted we have this opportunity then to exchange information, ideas and intelligence. As the world becomes increasingly smaller through globalization, so the opportunities to learn from each other become more and more important. And I very much look forward to hearing your views, and in return we hope that our contribution will be valuable to you. I can't tell you how proud I am that Britain, London, cities all around our country are increasingly diverse, and that we who occupy the black and ethnic minority population within London look to our brothers and sisters, particularly within the Indian community, for the great advances they have made, the great advances that they continue to make, not just in law, but in medicine, in business, and in other areas. And Britain gains for the strengths of our Indian community. The internationalization of legal services markets is a subject that draws much heated discussion and a diversity of responses and reactions. And in a sense, you just have to look at the debates taking place in both professional and governmental circles on the subject at the moment to know that there are heated views on both sides of that debate. And I welcome these open and frank discussions, and I hope that by being here I can make a contribution positively to you. Let me say at the outset that I recognise, that we recognise, that India is a sovereign nation, and the Indian legal professionals form a part of a proud and an independent profession. And this means that you will, of course, that regard. As you know, we in England, we have a liberalised market, but it's up to each nation to make these decisions for itself. We're here today to build on a good relationship and a friendship between our respective professions. The effects of globalisation have brought the winds of change sweeping through international business. Few major business areas remain untouched, but the issues at stake are often seen as more complex when it comes to the international legal practice, because the law is so closely associated with a nation's identity and its heritage. The law then plays a unique and an important role in any society. It's the champion of people's rights. It is the upholder of their interests. So it is understandable that nations think carefully before opening up legal services across borders. And as we look to this country, we are so proud of the contribution that the Indian common law has made to the world as a whole. You know, as a minority ethnic politician in Britain, I have to say to you that in the struggles that we all have within our own countries, I draw on that Commonwealth, that shared Commonwealth experience. As a lawyer, I draw strength from the words of men like Gandhi and Nehru as I go about my business. We are well aware of the strength and the contribution of the Indian common law system. But, in a sense, to make matters yet more complicated, the legal profession is universally highly regulated, each country with a specific set of rules governing the way its lawyers practice. And as such, it may seem to some that the process of internationalising legal services is too complicated to undertake. And in a sense, I want to challenge that view, because there are very real benefits to be had from further opening up to an international perspective. And none of us should overlook the fundamental principles shared by lawyers across the globe in the exercise of their profession. Principles like upholding the rule of law, defending people's rights, and above all, helping and assisting people on their way. And nor should we overlook the important and intrinsic links that exist between international trade and the practice of law. Investors, companies and businesses need legal advice for all their commercial transactions, even in respect to relatively straightforward domestic operations. The pace at which countries, companies and individuals are beginning to trade across borders has never been more striking, thanks in part at least to the tremendous developments in communications technology, which we all now take for granted. And this has had the paradoxical effect of making the world both smaller and more international at the same time. Even the most ordinary of households, and the goods that those households use, let alone say passenger aircraft or an oil refinery, rely on components, on expertise from diverse parts of the world. Without the input of lawyers, these various components and services would not find their way together in an efficient, structured, secure, and predictable manner. So the work of lawyers is fundamentally relevant to the proper functioning of the world economy. Given the central role legal services play in global business, it is scarcely surprising that demand for international legal services has also increased But with the rapid growth in cross-border investment and the search for new sources of capital, foreign investors need stability and predictability to manage that risk and increase value. As part of this process then, we will often seek the services of lawyers already familiar with their work, who are able to guarantee quality standards regardless of where the business is to take place. And in an international context then, some like to think of the law as a tradable commodity, which needs to be available to those who would like to purchase it. Others, particularly within the professions, feel uncomfortable when seeing their work in those terms. As a lawyer myself, I think I can understand that perspective. I entered this great and noble profession first and foremost to help and assist people. I entered the profession because of a strong notion of justice. It seems strange then for me to think of law as a commodity. But opening up legal services does not mean denying the important social and cultural role that lawyers play in society. We cannot avoid the fact that we do purchase and provide legal services in a global market. And people do need lawyers to be responsive to their needs. Businesses now shop for legal services in almost exactly the same way that they might any product. The choice is made on the basis of the provider's skill and expertise and not the basis of his or her nationality. So it is no surprise that firms seek to establish their own offices overseas and to work in partnership with local lawyers. Their physical presence in the major centres of the world is vital to their ability to provide or sell the type of highly technical service required by multinational companies that you and I know well. Let me give you a few UK figures to illustrate the increased demand and the value of the sector in itself. UK solicitors have established offices in no fewer than 60 jurisdictions worldwide. 60 jurisdictions. There has been a 111% rise in UK legal services exports since 1996. And this is not a one-way street. The current figures from the Law Society indicate that there are 1,840 registered Indian advocates who are practicing in London, and I welcome that. And I've heard much about this issue of reciprocity, and I made it my business because of the representations that I heard from this Bar Association as they visited me and the Law Society and our Bar Council in London, to really take a deep look at this issue of reciprocity and the right of an Indian to come to England and open up. And I need to tell you that you can come to England, that the applications have been made, that actually we have a special stream within our immigration rules for lawyers particularly. Within our rules, you can't practice in our courts, you can't practice property